The Jaguars take on the Vikings, 1 p.m. Eastern start time in Minnesota. The Vikes are the 10-point favorite at home, totals 52.5. We're hitting at 70% in our last 10 Underdog tier package picks on patreon.com/Brock Page. And access to today's Underdog tier play is just $4.99. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, I'll go ahead and explain a little bit more about it in just a few moments. We're also 3-0 in our last 3 college basketball tier package picks on that site as well. And although we don't have a college basketball tier package play going off today, we do have one queued up and ready to go for you here tomorrow. Now, we currently have over 675 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/Brock Page. Now, the Minnesota Vikings here, they've actually they've been victorious by double digits just once this season. They're 0-2 against the spread in their last 2 ball games, and they've lost 4 of 6 at US Bank Stadium. The Vikes are giving up 32 points a game at home and nearly 300 yards a game passing in that same category. Thielen, Smith, Cleveland, and Wanham are questionable for Minnesota. Conley, O'Shaughnessy, Chark, Allen, and Ellefson are questionable for the Jags. And speaking of Jacksonville, they've done a pretty good job against the point spread over the past several weeks. 3-1 against the number in their last 4 games. Now, they had successful covers over the likes of Cleveland and Green Bay during that stretch. Now, the Jags rank in the top 5 in the league in third quarter scoring. Meanwhile, when it comes to the scoring in this one, when it comes to the total, 3 out of Jacksonville's last 5 ball games got over the posted number. The Jags are also 60% to the over when they travel. Meanwhile, the Vikings on the other side, well, they're one of the best over teams in the league at home. They're a perfect 6-0 to the over on their home field. So with all that said and done, we're going to lean toward an underdog to start this video off here today. Give me the underdog Jags plus 10 and the over 52.5 in that ball game. Before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the video. Got some lines and personal leans out for NFL Week 13. But before we go ahead and dive into some more free content right here on YouTube, just got to quickly remind you once again that we are hitting at 70% in our last 10 Underdog tier package picks on patreon.com/Brock Page. We're also 3-0 in our last 3 college basketball tier package picks on that site as well. Like I said a little bit earlier, although we don't have a college basketball tier package play going off today, we do have one queued up and ready to go for tomorrow. All right, guys, real quick, you might be wondering, why would you sign up for picks on Patreon and pay for them where you can get them right here for free on YouTube? And that's certainly a great thought, a great consideration, a great concern. I'd probably be thinking the same thing if I were you watching me on YouTube right now. But I'll tell you this much. If you were to, go out there and bet every single game that's on the board, side and total, like I'm giving you here today on this video, it's certainly not a winning formula for success to do that. I can almost guarantee you won't be profitable betting every single game on the board, side and total. As a matter of fact, it's a recipe for disaster. The books are way too smart. They're way too sharp with the numbers. The odds become massively more against you the more and more games you play like that. And to be honest with you, the bookies just have so much more money than you and I do combined to be able to absorb that type of action. So what I do on Patreon is I make life a lot easier for you. I break it down and focus in on just 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're my personal plays, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much, I'm having more success, a lot more success, betting on games that way versus wagering on every single game on the slate, side and total. Now, we do currently have over 675 members signed up and active on that site. So there's a lot of people that are signed up. A lot of people are involved on that page. And if you want to get involved and join those folks and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And moving on, we're going to take a look at the Browns versus the Titans. 1 p.m. Eastern start time at Nissan Stadium in Nashville. The Titans are the 6-point favorite. Totals 53.5. The Titans have failed to cover the point spread in 2 out of their last 3 ball games when laying the points. Kind of struggling, getting the job done against the number when favored. They're also just 5-6 against the spread overall for the season, and they give up nearly 300 passing yards a game at home. Now, Pruitt, Humphreys, Jackson, Smith, and Simmons are all questionable for Tennessee. Janovich, Redwine, and Harris for the Browns. And speaking of Cleveland, they've won their last 3 straight, 8-3 straight up overall for this season. The Browns are in the top 3 in rushing, top 10 in yards per play. Now, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they each have over 700 yards rushing on the season and 10 combined touchdowns. Meanwhile, defensively, on the other side of the ball, the Browns rank in the top 10 in fewest rush yards allowed. Myles Garrett has 11.5 tackles for loss on the season, 9.5 sacks, and 4 forced fumbles. The Browns are in the top 5 in fewest second quarter points allowed. And when it comes to the total in this one, Cleveland's going 60% to the over when they travel. Meanwhile, the Titans on the other side, they are 5-1 to the over at Nissan Stadium, 9-2 to the over for the year. Plenty of overs for this Tennessee squad. But with all that said and done, I'm going to lean toward another underdog in this matchup here. Give me the underdog Cleveland Browns +6 in the over 53.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Cincinnati versus Miami, 1 p.m. Eastern start time in South Florida. The Dolphins are the 12-point favorite at home, totals 42.5. Miami has a slew of double-digit victories on the season. Rams, Niners, Jags, and the Jets twice. They've pretty much blown out. Those are just a handful of teams they beat by double digits this year. Now, the Fins have won 6 out of their last 7, and they went 6-1 against the spread during that span as well. The Fins are giving up just 18 points per contest on the season. Xavier Howard has a staggering 7 interceptions from this Miami secondary, 35 total tackles, and 15 PBUs for the cornerback. Edge rusher Emmanuel Ogbah also has 8 sacks on the season, 5 PDs, and 3 forced fumbles for the defensive end. The Fins are in the top 5 in fewest first quarter points allowed, top 3 in fewest second quarter points given up as well. Now, Washington, Kinley, and Perry are all questionable. Ahmed and Tua are also questionable as well for the Fins. Meanwhile, on the Cincy side, Thomas, Redmond, Wilson, and Johnson may not play themselves. Now, the Bengals are on a 3-game losing streak, just 1-2 against the spread in those 3 losses. And as good as they were covering the number with Burrow this season, the Bengals have failed to cover the point spread in 3 out of their last 6 road games. Now, the Bengals are scoring just 17 points a game when they travel, 82 yards a game rushing in that same category. Meanwhile, defensively, Cincy's giving up nearly 30 a game away from home. Now, total-wise, 4 out of Cincy's last 6 ball games got over the posted number. Meanwhile, the Dolphins on the other side saw 2 out of their last 4 get over the line themselves. Give me the Miami Dolphins -12 in the over 42.5. All right, next matchup I have for you, it is going to be some NFC South action. I'm talking about the Saints squaring off against the Falcons, 1 p.m. East. The Saints are -3 on the road, totals 45.5. New Orleans is on an 8-game winning streak, 4-0 against the spread in their last 4. They're scoring 31 points a game when they travel, and they rush for nearly $150 a game in that same category. Now, Taysom Hill, he's completing 71% of his passes, filling in for Drew Brees. Hill's also averaging 5.2 yards per carry, and he's run it into the end zone 5 times. Now, Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray, they also have over 1,100 rushing yards combined together, along with a dozen rushing touchdowns between the two of them. Kamara's also got 646 receiving yards out of the backfield, along with 4 scores. Now, the Saints' defense on the other side, They've also been absolutely dominant this season. Really, when you think about the Saints, you think about offense, but this defense has been outstanding. They're in the top 5 in fewest points allowed, top 3 in fewest yards allowed per play. The Saints are giving up just 18 points a game when they travel and just 82 yards a game on the ground. Trey Hendrickson and Cam Jordan have 16 total sacks between the two of them and over 20 tackles for loss. Defensive backs Marcus Williams and Janoris Jenkins each have three interceptions, respectively, apiece out of this New Orleans secondary as well. Now keep an eye on Harris, Pete, and Montgomery as they are questionable. Janoris Jenkins is a little bit banged up as well, so keep an eye on him. Meanwhile, on the Atlanta side of things, Julio Jones and Todd Gurley are both battling lower body injuries. They have been listed as questionable for Sunday afternoon. And, speaking of the Falcons, they've certainly struggled at home this season. Winners of just 2 of 6 in the Dome. They also failed to cover the point spread in 4 out of those 6 home ball games. The Atlanta D is giving up over 290 yards a game passing and over 6.2 yards per play. Now, the Falcons have lost to the likes of Detroit, Chicago, and Dallas this season. And when it comes to the total on this one, 3 out of Atlanta's last 6 home games did get over the total. The Saints on the other side are 60% to the over when they travel, 7-4 to the over for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward the New Orleans Saints -3 and the over 45.5. All right, next matchup, it is going to be Raiders versus the Jets. 1 p.m. Eastern start time in New Jersey. The Raiders are -8.5 on the road, totals 47. The Raiders are 4-1 against the spread in their last 5, 4-2 straight up when they travel. Derek Carr is completing nearly 70% of his passes, and he's thrown for over 2,600 yards on the season, as well as 19 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs has also run for nearly 800 yards on the ground and 9 touchdowns as well. The Raiders are in the top 10 in rush yards per game, top 10 in offensive time of possession. Now, Aguilar, Hurst, Abram, Farrell, and Arnett are questionable. Josh Jacobs has been a little bit banged up lately with an ankle injury, so keep an eye on him as well. Meanwhile, on the Jets side of things, Fant, Lewis, Edoga, and Cashman are all questionable for New York. Hey guys, newsflash. I don't know if you're aware of this, but New York is still winless on the season. 0-11 straight up on the year, 3-8 against the spread in those ball games. The Jets are last in scoring, last in passing. Meanwhile, defensively, the Jets are giving up nearly 30 points a game and over 280 yards per contest through the air. Now, total-wise, 2 out of New York's last 3 ball games got over the posted total. Meanwhile, the Raiders are 67% to the over on the road, 8-3 to the over for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward the Las Vegas Raiders -8.5 and the over 47. All right, next contest I have for you. It is going to be Lions versus the Bears, 1 p.m. Eastern start time in the Windy City. The Chicago Bears are the 3-point favorite at home, totals 44.5. The Bears are on a 5-game losing streak, just 1-4 against the spread in those contests. The Bears have lost 3 of 5 at Soldier Field as well this season, and they scored just 16 points per contest on their home turf. They rank in the bottom 3 in the league in rushing at home, bottom 3 in yards per play in that same category. McManus, Hicks, and Mack are questionable on the defensive side of things. Foles and Leno on the offensive side are also questionable, although Trubisky's expected to make the start. Meanwhile, on the Detroit side of things, Jones, Ford, Bryant, and Hand are questionable for the Lions. Swift, Okuda, Galladay, Jones, and Amendola have all been battling injury as well. Having said that, though, Detroit's won 3 out of their last 6 road games, believe it or not, and they actually rank in the top 10 in the league in fewest pass yards allowed on the road. They're also in the top 3 in road defensive time of possession. Romeo Okwara leads the D with 6 sacks along with 8 TFLs and a blocked kick. Okwara's also got 32 total tackles, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Jamie Collins currently leads the Lions defense with 82 total tackles and 3 forced fumbles. Collins also has a sack, 4.5 TFLs, 5 PBUs, and an interception on the season as well. This Lions D is also in the top 10 in fewest fourth quarter points allowed on the road. Now, total-wise, 4 out of the Lions' 6 road games on the season stayed under the posted total. Meanwhile, Chicago saw 6 out of their last 8 ball games stay under the line themselves. They're also 80% to the under at Soldier Field this season. So with all that in mind, I'm going to lean toward another underdog here. Give me the underdog Detroit Lions +3 and the under 44.5 in that ball game. And with that, we're going to dive into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Colts-Texans, 1 p.m. Eastern start time. The Colts are -3 on the road, totals 51. The Colts have won 2 out of their last 3 ball games, 4-2 straight up in their last 6. Indy ranks in the top 10 in road scoring, top 10 in pass yards away from home. Phillip Rivers is just 22 yards shy of 3,000 on the season, 16 touchdown passes for Phil. Zach Pascal and T.Y. Hilton have combined for over 800 receiving yards as well. Meanwhile, defensively, the Colts are giving up just 21 points a game when they travel and less than 90 yards a game rushing in that same category. Darius Leonard has 80 tackles on the season. Pair of sacks and 6.5 TFLs for the linebacker. Leonard also has 4 PBUs, 2 fumble recoveries, and a forced fumble. Edge rusher Danico Autry also has 6 sacks on the year, along with 24 tackles and 7 TFLs. This Colts defense is in the top 5 in fewest third quarter points allowed, top 10 in fewest fourth quarter points allowed. Now Green, Kelly, Willis, and Taylor are all questionable. They're taking on a Houston squad who's won just 2 of 5 at home, and they rank in the bottom 3 in rushing. The Texans are gaining just 82 yards a game on the ground at home. Meanwhile, defensively on the other side of the ball, equally as bad, the Texans are allowing 155 yards a game rushing and nearly 400 yards of total offense per game on their home turf. Now, total-wise, 2 out of Houston's last 3 ball games stayed under the posted number. They're also 4-1 to the under at NRG Stadium. Meanwhile, the Colts, on the other side of things, they saw 7 out of their last 10 meetings with Houston stay under the line themselves. So with all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the let's try that again. I'm going to lean toward the Indianapolis Colts -3 and the under 51. And with that, guys, we're going to dive into our quick pick recap. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage, where we are 70% in our last 10 underdog tier package plays, and we're also 3-0 in our last 3 college basketball tier package plays. I like the Jacksonville Jags +10 over 52.5, Cleveland +6 over 53 and a hook. I like the Dolphins -12 over 52.5, the New Orleans Saints -3 over 45 and a hook. I like the Las Vegas Raiders -8.5 over 47. I'm also leaning toward the Detroit Lions +3 under 44.5. And last but certainly not least, I like the Indianapolis Colts -3 and the under 51. And with that, guys, we're going to dive into some shout-outs. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage. And from our YouTube platform, shout out to Ishan Shah. Also want to give a shout out to Jihad Muhammad. Shout out to Brandon. Shout out to Richard Claus, Travis Dunn, CJ Voorhees, Guardian Angel, Johnny Bravo, Dakota Reeves. And last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to my man, Jack Reinhart. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind, we'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Thursday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.